What can be done? What should we be doing right now as we're watching this spectacle? And as I said in the previous hour, I believe that I am watching. This is like deja vu all over again. And those of you who are old enough to remember, you don't have to be as old as I am, but those of you who are old enough to remember the 1976 Republican primary when Ronald Reagan first tried to become president, and the 1980 Republican primary and election when Ronald Reagan got the nomination and ran for president, and all of us laughed at him. All of us Democrats and all of us progressives and whatnot. And I'm not even sure back then I called myself a Democrat. I called myself a liberal or a progressive, or actually I called myself an aging SDSer, whatever you want to call it. That's me. And I am watching, I absolutely believe I am watching Donald Trump morph himself into a less polished, but in some ways, because of that, more appealing, given this particular moment in time, version of Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan ran as an outsider. He was like, I'm not a professional politician. Yeah, I was the governor of California for a while, but, pretend that didn't happen. I'm an actor. And I was the union president for the Screen Actors Guild. He didn't point out that he was also a spy for J. Edgar Hoover when he was the head of the Screen Actors Guild. He didn't point out that as an actor, he really, the peak of his career was Bedtime with Bonzo. I would say that the peak of his career was as an actor, was governor of California. Much like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Actually, I think, the peak of Schwarzenegger's career was True Lies, which was actually a great movie. I loved that movie. But in any case, as we are watching Trump turn himself into the Republican outsider who doesn't, who is believed by the public not to be another one of those cookie cutter Republicans. Right, he's the Republican. Again, go back to Reagan, the anti-abortion crowd. They were all, oh my God, Ronald Reagan. He's never taken a position on abortion. He's never even gone to church. Reagan is like, don't worry, I'm on your side. So they fell into line. He's a Republican. He never did anything about legalizing abortion, but he spoke. He talked a good line. Or he never did anything about criminalizing abortion, excuse me. But he talked a good line. And you can you can go through the checklist. I guess the one area where Reagan was consistent was, he didn't so much run as a homophobe. He didn't trash and bash gays when he was running for office. He was never all that inclined to do that sort of thing. I think, having lived in Hollywood and knowing a lot of gay people, there's a lot of gay actors. But Reagan, throughout his presidency, until I think maybe the last year, refused to even talk about AIDS while people were dying all around us. He made fun of people with AIDS. But in any case, we're watching, and I can, the analogy that I see to that might be with the Zika virus, or it might be with Islam or whatever, but, I am watching Donald Trump transform himself into Ronald Reagan. Meantime, what's happening on the Democratic side? Is Hillary Clinton turning herself into Barack Obama / Bill Clinton? In which case, I personally believe if she does that, she will lose the election to Donald Trump. Or is she going to turn herself into a little more establishment version of Bernie Sanders? In which case, I believe she will win by a landslide. And I don't know the answer to that question right now. I don't think any of us know the answer to the question right now. But what can we do in order to help that latter position be the case? Because I would love to see Hillary Clinton turn herself into a version of Bernie Sanders, pick up steal his policy positions. What we are looking at right now is a battle for the heart and soul of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party from 1933 right up until 1987, 88, 89 was the party, both at the grassroots and at the top, was the party of organized labor and working people and average folks, that was the Democratic Party. And Al Fromm flipped that with the DLC in 88, 87, 88. He wrote a book bragging about it. And Bill Clinton was his first president in 92, you know, standing on those policies of becoming basically, you know, okay, Reagan has taken the party so far to the right, it's not the Republican Party anymore, will become the Republican Party, basically. So right now, the Democratic Party is faced with a choice. Is it going to continue the last 20 years of being basically 1950s Republicans, or is it going to go back to being 1950s Democrats? And I'm very hopeful for the latter. And there's a great piece that was published over at Alternet by Dick Morris. No, not that Dick Morris. Talking about the various things that Bernie Sanders and his followers can do to help make the Democratic Party more progressive, increase the probability the Democratic Party wins elections, and increase the probability that Hillary Clinton, if she's elected, will govern as an actual Democrat.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-536-2370.
As in the pre-DLC Democrats, which I think would be a really good thing. I think it's really a powerful thing for the party. We'll be back. I'll share some of that. We'll pick up your calls.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.